What's up, St. Louis? It's your host, Luke Farrell of the STL Bucket List Show. The STL Bucket List Show is driven by Bomarito Automotive Group. Bomarito is Missouri's #1 car dealership with over 20 locations, so I guarantee that there's one in your neighborhood. Since the 1970s, Bomarito has sold over 1 million cars, and John and the entire team made us feel completely comfortable when we picked up our new vehicle recently for the family. So I can't thank the Bomarito team enough for driving this episode forward, and enjoy the show. For 50 years, Bankhead and Firth Orthodontics has been proudly serving the vibrant St. Louis community. As a family-owned and operated practice since day one, the commitment to excellence and personalized care runs deep. They believe in giving back to the wonderful people of St. Louis who have entrusted them with their smiles. Step into the 5 locations across St. Louis with modern offices equipped with the latest orthodontic technology. Their 3 amazing doctors are dedicated to providing top-notch, innovative treatments tailored just for you. Join us in celebrating 50 years with Bankhead and Firth Orthodontics, where your family becomes a part of theirs. Schedule your free consultation today and let them help you achieve the confident, gorgeous smile that you deserve. Because in St. Louis, your smile is your legacy.
If you want to hear about St. Louis, tune in to the Bucket List Show weekly. Hear what Marissa and Luke say. It drops every Wednesday. Got a dope new guest every single week. Buckle up for the ride. Who's it gonna be? Who's on the show today? They rep St. Louis. What to do in the loo on a late night, or maybe what to do on a date night. Yeah, Bucket List has you covered. They know what's going on. What's going on? They'll give you, hey, 18 different things to do, or 19 if you need one more to choose. Yeah, this city is a place we call home. A place we call home, yeah.
What's up, St. Louis? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the STL Bucket List Show. I am your host, Marissa Farrell.
And I am your other host, Luke Farrell. And we really couldn't do the show without the support. We've continued to grow the show. We've been doing this for 2 years now, highlighting the people and places that make our city unique. Got to shout out our good friends over at Bomarito Automotive Group for making the show possible. The Regional Arts Commission of St. Louis, Four Hands Brewing Company, Birch Tree Recovery, First Community Credit Union. Without all these incredible partners, we wouldn't be able to keep doing the show each and every week. So excited to get to talk to restaurateur and entrepreneur, chef, family man, man of many titles.
Jack of all trades.
But we got Gerard Craft in here, fresh off opening 2 restaurants in the last, month? 2?
Yep, month.
How do you feel?
How you feel?
Yeah, I don't think you can really... there's no good answer to that.
Exactly.
Rough.
Coasting,
rough.
surviving.
Yeah. So I want to start, obviously, if you live in St. Louis, people have, most of the people that listen to our show have been to your restaurants. But prior to 2005, I want to take it back a little bit. Growing up, did you grow up in the St. Louis area? Kind of tell us a little bit about your childhood and what led you to becoming a chef.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I grew up in Washington, D.C. till I was 16, and then went to a boarding school for troubled youth in northern Idaho.
Oh, wow.
And that was kind of my...
Ways away from home for a bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
northern Idaho, it was a culture shock.
Yeah,
Of course.
I believe it.
I was definitely a city kid.
So
Yeah.
from 16 to 18, you were in northern Idaho then? Or-
Yeah. Yep. And then I went straight to college in Salt Lake City, Utah. Because I did in boarding school, I did kind of like a work study thing with a photographer there. So they'd let me kind of go off, and it's kind of the only time you were allowed out of this place.
Sure. Sure.
And I would go with the photographer and do, ski, snowboard, wakeboard, shoots, and stuff like that.
So was photography your first passion then, or was that okay?
Yeah.
Are you still
Well,
passionate?
so like arts in general. So I grew up doing a lot of graffiti and a lot of photography.
So
And those were
anything
kind of both.
creative for you, really?
Yeah.
Okay. And so do you still ever kind of do any photography or graphics just for fun, or is that kind of...
Yeah, like I sketch quite
Mm-hmm.
a bit, just randomly. I picked up a spray can for the first time at Expat.
Mm-hmm.
I was
saw
really
that one.
stressed out. I was going through some stuff, and I would go in late at night and just paint.
Cool.
I'm very rusty.
That's all right.
Definitely.
You did the
It
NFG
wasn't
one? Is
just
that-
like riding a bike.
Yeah.
You did the NFG one.
Yeah.
In there? Yeah, that's cool.
I'll probably one day roll it and try and do something a little better.
Yeah.
But
Got back into it.
I think that like creative outlets. So, you know, obviously you had these creative outlets. Like you said, you were a troubled teen. You went to college. So you were kind of all over Washington, D.C. Then you ended up in Salt Lake City. What brought you to St. Louis then?
so so while I was in Salt Lake City, so I went to college there briefly and dropped out of college.
What were you pursuing when you were there? Photography?
Photography.
Okay.
The school I was at only had a minor in photography, so I was majoring in history, but I mean,
Yeah.
I was really majoring in not going to school.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I dropped out, I got a job in the mornings washing cars, and then at night I got a job washing dishes at a pool hall. Like the car wash my friend managed, and then the pool halls where we would all go to like hang out.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, do you guys have any jobs? You know,
Yeah.
Can I wash dishes?" And they said, "Do you know how to cook?" I said, "No." And they said, "All right." So and then they kind of taught me, you know, basic cooking.
Sure.
Like it was good food.
Yeah. Bar food's the best food.
Yeah, it was
sometimes.
like
I mean,
paninis
yeah.
and like everything was from scratch.
Yeah.
And, I instantly fell in love with like the camaraderie of the kitchen, though. You know, it wasn't like I fell in love with food all of a sudden. I just fell in love with like the vibe of the place.
If you've worked in it, you know
Yeah.
exactly like what you're talking about. Like you really have to have like experienced being in the kitchen to know like it
We
can
had
be
somebody on the
fun.
podcast. It was like everybody should work there at least once
Yeah.
in some type of
It's like
kitchen.
being on a pirate ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt like I really belonged on a pirate. I
right.
still feel like I
We all
belong
have
on
a
a pirate
role.
ship.
We all
you know?
just kick it, and yeah, that's so true. I miss those days. Okay, so that was in Utah that you were doing that.
Yeah, that was in Salt Lake City.
Okay.
And so I thought about going back to school and saw kind of a kind of career counselor. And they pretty much said, look, the way you learn, they kind of did a lot of testing and stuff, is really hands-on. They're like, that's why you probably like your job right now. And they said, you're going to really struggle if you go back to college again. Like, not that you can't do it, but they're like, it's not going to like all of a sudden get easier for you. And they said there's a culinary school at the community college. You should go check that out. You know, give it a shot. It's cheap. You know, see if you like it. And so I did. I kept working at the place I was at, and then went to the culinary school and loved it.
Yeah, something took off. Something clicked.
Yeah.
Wow. So you were at the culinary school. So then from Utah, how did you end up in St. Louis then?
Yeah, so I did that, and I went up and worked in the ski resorts in Deer Valley, and you know grew some skills and that was able to allow me to travel from there. So I went to Paris for a summer to do kind of like work study at the Ritz in Paris, and then after that, I kind of traveled around a bunch. So I went for a few months to New Jersey to this restaurant that was kind of on a 5-acre organic farm, which like didn't exist back then.
Right, farm to table wasn't like a thing.
Yeah.
Like it is now, right.
I mean, so much so that I was like, why are the carrots muddy?
Yeah.
Like, I'm washing carrots, and then I would go out and I would go, you know, clip herbs and pick stuff from the ground. And that was a really eye-opening experience. And again, you know, some of the stuff you talk about it now, and it's like seems so, I don't know, so done.
Yeah.
But you're like back then, like this didn't exist. You know, what was this in like 2000,
Sure.
2001?
Right.
It just didn't exist. And so from there, actually, that job was so terrifying. That place.
Why?
Like it was such an intense restaurant, and the chefs were so good that I pretty much thought that I was not going to keep cooking.
Right.
After
the
that,
intimidation of that
it
environment.
was just like, I mean, it was such the grind, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this.
If I'm cut out to do
And,
this, yeah.
And I took a month off after that. Went back to Salt Lake City, and from there, my grandmother actually was like, you need to get back in the kitchen. And I was out in LA visiting some friends, and my grandmother was like, I want you to meet this chef out here, Muhammad Islam. And he had just come from Jean-Georges in New York, and he had opened up, he was kind of the chef revamping the menu for the Chateau Marmont and the Standard Hotel out there. So I met up with him, and he's like, hey, just come out for the summer. He's like, come on, just come out, work for the summer, have some fun. So I said, okay. So I moved out to LA that summer, just for the summer, and then ended up getting a sous chef job there and sticking around. So I was there like, I don't know, just under 2 years, I guess, and came back to Salt Lake City and worked at this restaurant called the Metropolitan in Salt Lake. And I met a guy named Matthew Rice, who was the pastry chef, and a guy named Perry Hendricks. Those names are really important for the next phase, but really loved my time at this restaurant. It was such an exceptional place, and something that you just wouldn't find in Salt Lake City or think to find in Salt Lake City. Really ambitious, beautiful design, beautiful kitchen, and a team of chefs that were just, every single one in that restaurant was incredible, but also a really good vibe. And so I decided I was going to open up. I was going to leave, and I had heard some things about St. Louis. I think I had read a few things, maybe in like Bon Appetit or something, that highlighted Larry Forgione opening an American place downtown, and Kevin Nashin had just moved to St. Louis to buy Sydney Street Cafe, and at the time the restaurant Monarch, this beautifully designed place, was getting some press, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And Larry Forgione's like an American icon, as far as chefs go. And so I was like, I'm going to check this out. And so I kind of weird habit of looking online at real estate all the time. I still do this.
It's so fun to do. Just see what's out there.
I can sit up till 2 a.m.
And just random cities. You're like, oh, what would it look like to open this place in the middle of Idaho? Or like Salt Lake City's booming now. You probably should open something out there.
Yeah, exactly. We thought about it. But so I found a quote unquote wine bar for sale. I'm like, all right. And they sent me some blueprints of the place, and I will say this was not a wine bar. It had dirt floors, a big hole in the ground to the basement where the kitchen was to go. And I was like, this is perfect. I'll take it.
Yeah.
And it was tiny. It was 1,500 square feet.
Wow.
And, at the time I was eating a lot at like places like Prune in New York City. And there was a place called the Tasting Table in New York City. And they were all tiny. And like that was kind of like the trend back then. Like the restaurants coming out of Spain were all these kind of like small little unique restaurants, kind of doing just like really, really good unique food, but like it kind of fair prices and more like bistro style, but unique.
Yeah.
When we talk about Little Fox, we were talking before this about Little Fox. That's exactly kind of that vibe.
Yeah.
The problem was, so we got here, moved to St. Louis, and found that like that young vibe that goes out to eat at those places didn't really exist in St. Louis at the time.
What year was this?
2005.
Okay.
So it was all like, I mean, there was a little bit of it, but like the young vibe wasn't eating at like cool restaurants. That just wasn't a thing. And so it was all really like older people from, from the county mostly.
Sure.
They would come downtown for a nice date night.
Come downtown. And so
this
we kind of
Benton Park.
Benton Park.
Yep.
And we were like, our menu was 3 courses for $30, but like people were comparing us to like Tony's, and I was like, hey, and like sometimes in a negative way, like, oh, you guys aren't doing the service of Tony's and all this stuff, and I was like, this is like $30 for all 3 courses.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
literally, like that's probably what it costs to rent the jacket they make you wear there.
That's
you
what
know,
I'm saying.
like,
Yeah.
you know, so, but it really forced me to kind of start pushing back into fine dining and like pushing the limits on the food that we were doing and stuff like that. So it kind of took us away from what we intended and wanted to do, but you know, I mean, it led me in its own path that worked out.
And that's just the way I feel like some of the greatest success stories come about, right? Like this is your plan, and you just kind of what's the word I'm looking for? You just transition to what?
Pivot.
Yeah, you pivot. That's what I'm looking. That's it. Yep.
And a lot more pivots to come. So you came to St. Louis as a transplant, so you probably quickly figured out that, you know, a lot of people in St. Louis that had restaurants grew up in St. Louis, and that was
family
easy for them
history.
to get those clientele and build that up because they went to school with all these people. They knew all these families. So how, you mentioned like, you know, some of the difficulties when you moved there. How difficult was it to really hit your stride? Did it take a minute, or did you guys get success pretty quickly?
It happened fairly quickly, and I mean, I think the word success is also relative. But so I was lucky that my parents actually were kind of like going through like, oh, I think we know this person in St. Louis, and kind of reached out. And I mean, I think when I was first moving there, somehow you know, one of the Schlaflys had lived behind us in D.C. And so they called Tom Schlafly. Yeah. And I'm like, you know, my son wants to open this restaurant in St. Louis, and you know, we've never really been there. And he was just like, why? Why would he do that?
Why?
You know, but all those people like Tom Schlafly and some of my other parents' friends were really helpful in the beginning and getting the word out and telling their friends at least to give us a shot. And then we were really slow in the beginning, but we got a pretty exceptional review from Joe Bonwich, who was the critic at the time, and it was almost like a love letter of a review. And after that, I mean, I remember looking up. So it was me and 2 other guys in the kitchen. Our pastry chef, who I stole from the Metropolitan in Salt Lake City, Matthew Rice, who, by the way, has Pink Door Cookies in Nashville. So anybody listening should look up Pink Door Cookies. It's so cool. But so it was
name.
me, Perry, and this other young chef, Matt Galati, and it was literally like the 3 of us doing everything. Yeah. Like I would prep salad station, Matthew would prep desserts, but Matthew would plate the salads, and I would cook meat station. And Matt would do hot appetizers, and so it was like tiny. And we remember looking up. It was really slow, so you know, look up the night of the review, and I mean, it was like people were just everywhere. Like seats were full. People were trying to like fill in wherever they could, and so that was kind of like the first moment for us.
Was that aha moment? I think that, you know, because in 2005, I mean, you're limited to what you can do marketing wise. You know, now you open a new restaurant, and you can post on your personal social media, and your personal social media has this big brand. So you're like, hey, new spot, go try this out. And you didn't have to like, that was it.
You had to get it in print, right?
Yeah.
Like in the paper.
Social media didn't exist back then.
So it was like, how
even
do you
in
get
the last, like since Bucket List has been born, I'll say the last 5 years, like
that was
social media has
so even
popped off in terms of the hospitality industry. And like, I mean, even when I'm looking to go to a new place, like I'm going to that Instagram page, I'm looking at what content they're putting out, and then I'm looking to see it, like the tagged picture, so I can see, I'm like, damn, that dish looks so good, I need, you know, and I'll be like, what is this, to the server. So it's just wild. It's a different time.
So you 3 and 1,500 square feet. So that review came out, and then you won some awards and different things. So that review, was that the Food and Wine review?
That was Post-Dispatch, and that was 2005. Okay. But you know, we had a lot of ups and downs after that, and you know, 2008 was coming up there, so the major financial crisis. But even just anyway, I remember right before the financial crisis, they shut down the highway. I don't know if you guys remember this, but they shut down all of Highway 40.
2008 would have been
How old are you?
7th grade,
Yeah, we were
so definitely not. But I'll ask my parents.
He said, "Chill, man." Yeah, I'll check with my parents on that.
You know.
No, yeah, we were 13.
Yeah.
So they shut down all of Highway 40,
No, I
which
know,
was
yeah.
like
Really?
the only way all those people from the county I was
Get into
talking
the
about
come see you.
city.
would come see us, and it
Wow, I
was
didn't know that.
disastrous
Yeah.
to our businesses down there. And so we were actually, contemplating going out of business. We didn't, just didn't know if we
Slow.
could keep our doors. So we weren't a really profitable restaurant anyway.
Yeah.
At that point, serving food for 3 courses for $30 does not,
Right.
Scale well.
with a 40-seat restaurant, does not get you far.
No.
And so right around then, in I guess it would have been like winter of 2007 that we got the call, like maybe like late December, that we had won Food and Wine Best New Chef. And so like the editor of Food and Wine, we knew they had kind of come in. They just, one of their editors pretty much was in a photo shoot in St. Louis and just stumbled into Niche.
Wow.
And so they recommended us, and once and that person wrote about us right after that. So we knew there had been food and wine activity, and they were calling and asking questions and stuff. And we got a call from Dana Cowan, who was the editor, and said, "You've won." And I was like, "Oh my God, I think you might have just like saved my life."
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
That was an Italian. I still get chills just
Oh,
thinking about that
the
call.
gratitude. Yeah, of course.
Just like-
It was really life-changing
Yeah,
for you.
I mean, I'm sure I was like crying in the back or
Aw,
something.
Yeah, so pivotal.
And I had a kid right around then.
Oh,
We had
so
another one on the way, and I was like,
a real Hail
"What
Mary.
is happening?"
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you've really, now being in business for 20 years, right?
Almost.
You have, next year's the big one.
I know.
You got to do something crazy.
I know. We gotta have a big 20-year blowout.
You
Yeah.
really do. So you've seen some serious challenge economically now, like with 2008 and then with COVID, we kind of touched upon earlier. And so what has that been like, just seeing 2 huge dips, I guess, in service and still being able to stay afloat? Like, if anything, what can you, if you were going to give us like some kind of motivational quote or something, like what would you say?
You know what? I've actually been saying this to myself, to my kids recently, but I don't know. I think it was Seinfeld. There was some interview with Seinfeld, and he talked about the notion of this too shall pass. And he said, when things are going really bad, this too shall pass. He said, but when things are going right, when you're killing it, when you're at the top of the world, this too shall also
Right.
pass.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, I think it's really important to keep that in sight. And again, somebody else was just talking about like Kobe Bryant talking about trying to stay as level as possible. Keep the highs a little lower, keep the lows a little higher. And I think all of that is just so important, and not to lose sight that it is going to change. Like the thing you're killing it at is going to dip, and you got to keep working at it, and you got to keep pushing,
Yeah.
and you just, you
Yeah.
can't stop.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Consistently
great.
just show up,
Yeah.
whether, like you said, after you get that call or the 2 years it took to get that first call of like, hey, we
Keep
made
it
it.
humble and keep working at it. Yeah.
And you've had a lot of ups, like you said, with all these, new restaurants that you guys opened. So 2007, we're in 2007 now. You get the call. Obviously, business probably blew up again.
Yeah.
How quickly did you started opening other spots? Was that always a goal for you, or was it just to do a really good one single restaurant?
I think it was really just to kind of do one restaurant, but not truly understanding all the economics of it. And,
Sure.
Right.
hey, we need something else. And we got an opportunity to take over a restaurant called Chez Leon, and so he was kind of going out of business and selling his business. So we bought the stuff and took over that space and started up Brasserie on like a shoestring.
Yeah. Same location.
Same location. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful spot.
Yeah. And so that was kind of that expansion. And we had tried actually to open a little pastry shop called Veruca for that pastry chef Matthew Rice. I think it was just maybe a little ahead of its time in a lot of ways. And so we had built out this private dining room, and at the storefront of it, that's where the pastry shop was. And so we were like sitting on this empty space, and we're like, let's make a cocktail bar here. You know, I was like spending a lot of time in New York, like places like the Pegu Club and Death and Company and PDT, and so I was like, that'd be really cool here in St. Louis to do something like, you know, small but really fun.
Elevated cocktails.
Yeah, elevated cocktails. And it was at a time where like I've never really liked going out to like big bars.
Yeah.
It's just like I'm claustrophobic. Like I'm usually tired after work. I don't want like 50 people spilling
Loud,
their beer
stand up the
on
whole
me.
time.
Like,
Stand up the whole time.
Yeah. I
And
just
you get to
wanna-
a certain age, I think, like mid to late 20s, where
Yeah.
you're like, it's just, I want to just sit
I wanna
down and
a
have a nice
conversation with
drink
somebody.
and
Yeah.
talk.
And that's where I was at. I was 28.
Yep.
And, you know, already had a kid, and I just like,
Slower paced.
yeah.
Right.
So we opened Taste, and as we were opening it, so Perry Hendricks, who was the chef of the place that I worked at with Matthew Rice, the restaurant he was working at in North Carolina burned down. I said, well, why don't you come up and help me open this cocktail bar? Like, you know, flights were cheap back then. I was like, just fly up during the week and fly home on the weekend. And so we, you know, he helped even kind of like build out the space a little bit. And we got close to opening that. And then Ted Kilgore reached out. And Ted was the only one like doing
cocktails
really
like
great
that.
cocktails, even though it was in a restaurant setting.
He's Planner's house.
Planner's house, yeah.
So good.
And he's like, I really want to be involved. And so we scrapped the menu we were working on, and we're like, just have at it, do whatever you want. And that was the history of Taste. And so then Taste was like voted one of the 10 best new bars in the country that year by Bon Appetit magazine. And you know, Taste blew up
We love
with
Taste.
12 seats. So it was
Loved
also
it.
kind
Right.
of
I
like,
loved the little room
Small,
upstairs.
Intimate space.
it was kind of
Those little
hard.
steps up to the back were
little
awesome.
corner,
That little
yeah.
corner up top.
Oh no, so this was before that.
Okay.
This
It
was
was just inside.
Because like the
and
kitchen was
out,
like down
like
and
the
then it was,
bar.
like,
so if
and
you
the
go to
seats and
Peacemaker
Yeah.
downtown in Benton Park,
Mhm.
the entrance that's Peacemaker now was the entrance to Taste, the original Taste. And Niche
Mm.
was the left side of Peacemaker.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so you can kind of look at Peacemaker and see it was kind of divided
Yes.
into two spaces.
Yeah.
And the left side was Niche. If you look at that kitchen, like
Yeah.
the pass is still the same
Mm-hmm.
Niche pass.
Wow. You probably love going there. You
And
probably
I
get emotional
all the
going there.
time, yeah.
Yeah.
And I lived right upstairs from there.
I
You
love
look
that.
upstairs, there's all these windows.
Not only do they have great seafood, but then you can just get you can get nostalgic every time you go
Yeah,
there
every
and talk to
single time.
Kevin. And then
Yeah.
wow. So then so you had Brasserie over in the West End location, and then you had that little spot next to it. Was that
Yeah.
just empty, or was there was something else there? Because that was the
Oh
taste that I'm
no,
thinking
so
about.
it
Yep.
was a restaurant called Moxie
Mm.
at the time.
Moxie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really
Because when
put-
we moved to the city in 2018 was probably our first time going to Taste. It was like one of our first like nights out. So
Yeah.
it's cool to just
sat on
even
the
be sitting
patio.
here shooting the shit with you
Yeah.
when that was like one of our first
Yeah, because we'd
date
go on the
nights.
patio. Because you used to get off work late too, and we would go
Yes,
there.
when I
Yeah.
worked
At Salt and Smoke.
at Salt and Smoke, and I would be like, I am wired because I work in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to go have a cocktail
Yeah.
somewhere? We'd go to Taste. Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's so I think that like the notoriety that your restaurant started to get not only helped you personally, but also put St. Louis on the map in a bigger way with more people trying to push the envelope. Because before that, I mean, were there food writers really writing stuff about, restaurants in St. Louis? And now you flash forward 15, 20 years later, we have great places in every single corner of St. Louis, but also Clayton, also Chesterfield,
All the
also all
pockets.
these like Wildwood, all these different
Right.
places that I just don't, I don't remember. You don't think of St. Louis as a town like that, but now we are, and we punch above our weight.
We didn't even have. There were no Food and Wine Best New Chefs.
Yeah.
Now we have like 5,
Yep.
maybe 6.
Mm-hmm.
There were no James Beard Awards. Now we have 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's things have changed definitely a lot in the way that people look at St. Louis. When I moved here, the one thing that I said is I want to really be a part of. So my family is like Washington, D.C., New York City, L.A. And people are like, why don't you come here? And I really wanted to just like be in a place where I could be a part of a scene that was rising.
Mm-hmm.
And I really got to find that with people like, Kevin Nash and Kevin Willman, Josh Galliano at the time.
Do you feel like your success would look different had you have been in those larger cities compared to St. Louis? I know that's a weird
so
question.
hard to say. Yeah,
I know it's a very weird question, but
I don't think that.
Like
that it would have
timing's
been the
everything.
same. Yeah, timing's
everything. And I feel like you came at a time where, like, again, like you're saying, like the growth, it's so different and it's just getting better. It's just there's constant new concepts happening.
Oh, the scene is so good now.
It is.
There's so much good food.
Infinite options.
Yeah.
But I say being right next to Kevin Nash and, like you were talking about just how like the camaraderie like forces the restaurants to grow.
Yeah.
I think one of the coolest things was, so Kevin's got to be one of my best friends. But I say a big but, like we were super competitive.
Of course.
Yeah, like super competitive.
Yeah.
So like, one person starts doing like pushing a little bit, like
How
and
can
then
I
we're like,
push
oh, we
it?
got to push harder.
Yeah.
And so
When he's like, I'm open Mondays. He's like, I'm open Mondays now too.
Yeah. I mean, so you're like, like I don't think it's a mystery that the 2 James Beard Awards in town, started on Sydney Street, and I think a lot of that is just that like constant. We were just pushing each other all the time.
Yeah, you mentioned Kobe Bryant too. It's like competition is what drives everybody. But
motivation.
I also feel like St. Louis, at least a lot of the people that I talk to, we help each other a lot too, even though we're competitors.
Exactly.
So like that's that one thing that you might not get in a Chicago or a New York City. It's like, no, why would I help you? It's tough.
When we opened Niche, we didn't have a walk-in cooler, and then like one time the power went out, and we had just gotten this giant fish. I mean, such a big fish, it took 2 of us to carry it down to Sydney Street to put it in his walk-in, because we just didn't have we were cooking stuff like for that day. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, like the power, there was like a blizzard or something, and we had to shut down. Yeah. So he was always there helping us, and vice versa.
So
Amazing.
Niche food group. So you started getting these concepts. Obviously now you're a food, you run a food group. Now you're running a business. It's not just you and a couple buddies in the kitchen cooking every night. So what are, some of the challenges that came with running compared to cooking food and then now running a business? Because a lot of the people that I talk to, at least me personally, like I love being creative. That's why we started this. But the stuff that drains me is the HR, the payroll, the business, the meetings, the bad shit that comes every single day. When I'm like, I just love,
what are you talking about?
I just love.
It's all dandy
in
over
restaurants,
here.
I know, but I just love the creative part of creating content, filming, getting engagement. But then it's like nobody sees what goes on behind there. So I want to like learn from you because you started at cooking and being a chef with your buddies that you stole from you pouched from all these other places. But then now we're up 2 concepts. Now we have, hiring and all that. So like, what are some of the challenges that came with that? I mean,
well, that almost drove us bankrupt again.
Yeah.
We were not, we were not reading P&Ls on a regular basis. And we were just kind of rolling, we were busy and we were cranking. And it's funny to know that you can be super busy and be losing a shit ton of money. And I learned that the hard way.
Yes.
When you're not managing right. And so that really happened to us after we opened Brasserie. And again, we were very close to going under. So close, even, that I was taking interviews in New York, in DC, because I'm like,
It's not
you
gonna
know,
happen.
I have 2 kids now, and
Mhm.
and you know, we might be about to lose everything. And so, you know, thankfully we were able to kind of pull it together. You know, everybody on the team just kind of got smart on, you know, reading the P&Ls. One of our managers at the time, I was like, used to be an accountant, and I was like, your new job is
His
to
accounting.
sit in front of the computer
right.
and
Make
tell
sure
us
I'm not
when we're losing
overspending.
money.
Get people in place to help out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So with just that side of it, the business side, opening new restaurants, your mind is constantly working to just push the limit. How is it that you how do you check in with yourself? Like, how do you like kick back for a minute and just, like we're partnered up with Birch Tree, and so we always like to do like a mindful minute. And so this is kind
Mental
of
health
me
minute. Yeah.
focusing on that, and just how do you come back down to earth for like 10 seconds?
Yeah.
What does
It's
that look
tricky.
like?
So I actually ended up moving out to the middle of the woods to be by mountain bike trails, because that was definitely one of the ways that I would really decompress is mountain biking. I had gotten into cycling quite a bit before that, and then I was like, mountain biking is so much more fun.
Yeah.
And then this year I slipped 2 discs in my neck, and so I'm not doing that. So you know, I am having to kind of get creative with finding that downtime.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, when you look at an opening, openings are brutal, and you just got to kind of expect that you're just gonna have to power through these openings in some way. You know, do some stretches in the morning. You know, I talk to myself in the morning.
Yeah.
Literally,
Hype yourself up. Like, you
yeah,
got
I
this.
literally
Let's
have
get
to
this
do
shit.
that.
Yep.
Get the
Like,
shit. Yeah.
like get off your ass.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get
Get
it
to
done.
work.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
no moping.
Yeah.
One foot in front of the other.
Mhm.
But
This
but
too
it
shall
is
pass,
tough.
whatever
Yeah,
comes.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it is really important to, you know, find some peace. And I think, you know, even the fact that I moved out to the woods, like that is a little bit of my peace. Is, you know, I don't really have like neighbors that I can see. You know, I do have some great neighbors,
Yeah.
thankfully, not far. But you know, I look out over a valley and it feels like I'm in the mountains. You know, I really bought like a condemned shack of a house and rebuilt it during COVID, but
Wow.
just for that
Yeah.
reason. So
That's
A little bit of peace.
It's
Yeah.
inspiring. I think you have to find peace at your home, because, like you said, once you get in that car and once you drive to your location, you're like it's on. You know, I gotta. You have to be a leader for your team. I mean, how many employees do you guys have now?
we're getting just around 400.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Oh my gosh.
So how many? Oh my gosh.
I know.
That's crazy, bro.
So how many restaurants total? Like what all? How many total? Like what's
Yeah.
400? You know.
I think we're riding right around 11, and it's tough because
Crazy.
some of them are like really little, right?
Right.
Like, you know, we have Kitchen Bar,
Yep.
Fordos. Not that they're without, you know,
Sure.
struggles
Brass
in
Burger,
management,
like
and
smaller
stuff.
concepts that are inside. Yeah.
Brass Burger. You know,
Those
the
burgers are great.
stadium. It's like,
Yeah,
do we
yeah,
count
yeah.
those each? Or,
Oh,
you know, we
yeah.
got the deli at the stadium. We got Brass Burger at the stadium.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah.
you know, it's right around 11.
Yeah, they all require attention, but not like an expat or a pastoria
Yeah,
where it's like its own machine.
Bowood,
You know?
Brasserie,
Yeah.
One of my
the
favorite
deli,
breakfast
those
Bowood.
places crank.
Yeah, Bowood's amazing.
So what's next?
Oh my God!
Are you gonna keep going?
I need to make it through these. I mean, so we are going to be opening more Puranos
Okay.
for sure. I think our goal is to try to hit 3 of those within like 2.5 years.
In this market or just
in this market?
In this
yeah.
market, yeah.
So we're actively looking for locations in like Richmond Heights, kind of Brentwood area, just kind of all over.
Yeah.
So
Great.
Purano definitely, and then other than that, I mean, I think, you know, expat is a beast.
Yes, it
I
is.
mean, 16,000 square foot, 3 floors. It's gonna take us a while to grow that business
Sure.
and to feel good about that business, and you know,
Yeah, that's
that'll be a
Get
bit.
that-
It'll
get
be
that-
a bit before.
So you went from 1,500 square feet in 2005 to 16,000
I know.
square
With like
foot
10
restaurant.
employees,
It's
right?
so crazy.
Yeah, the expat is insane. I mean, definitely one of the coolest. I feel like that space will be it'll get nationwide attention just with that space and
It's
what
so
it looks
beautiful.
Mm.
like. Out Noda underneath. I mean,
Yeah.
that space we didn't even mention that.
I
love
was
that space.
just going to
We went
mention
there when
that.
you guys opened.
I was
I
just about to
decided
mention
That
was kind of our replacement for Taste. I know
Okay.
it's not the same.
But
Yeah.
it's
We don't have all the
so-
food.
Yeah.
That we
But
had
even
at
the
Taste,
like,
but
love
just
sitting
the
on the
small
sidewalk, too.
plates
Yeah.
and the like little, even the plating, right? Like the when
chip
you
bag.
get the chips.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
chip
It's
bag.
just so
We
cool.
love
I've never.
that.
I want
We need
those
one
for
of
my
those for our house.
home.
yeah, those chip bags are awesome. And
It's-
Fiona
Yeah.
is incredible
Mhm.
and makes just wonderful cocktails.
Cocktails are great. Vibe is immaculate. It's a very sexy, nice little date.
Yeah.
I go down there for some Vesper martinis.
Yeah.
That's
Things
been
are
like my
great.
summer drink is the
Really?
martini.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, it's the year of the martini. First it was the espresso martinis, and then
Martinis are always.
It's
And then it
always-
was like, this is really hard. I just
Yeah.
need straight gin.
yeah, you're like, this is hard. I actually don't want coffee because I
Yeah.
want to
I'm
go.
a
I want to
dirty
pass out.
martini girl.
I want to pass out after this. I don't want to have coffee.
Yeah.
Just a dirty martini.
So we
Nice
kind of mentioned the City Foundry, but obviously, you put a huge part in curating that program there, but then also at City Park,
Yeah.
which we love City Park. We weren't even soccer fans, but we
Now
love.
I am. I just want
yeah.
to go and eat.
Right.
I mean, tune in the game, but like the
We missed
food.
2 goals the other day because we were getting I was at Union Loafers and then I was at Olio and then I went here. I got 6 things before I went back to my seat. I spent $120, but
Yeah.
I hear the goals. I'm like, whatever. I'm in line to get this.
We could kind of see. We're like,
But curating that program, that's that's the best food program in professional sports. I don't even think just in soccer. I think
No,
in professional
I think-
sports in
I
general.
think we stand by that.
Yeah.
That I think we're the best in professional sports.
So what are those? How do you, when you take on those projects, obviously those are great projects for your
Yeah.
food group, but that's a whole nother thing that you have to take on so you were doing both of those kind of at the same time.
Kind of, yeah. And those were both pretty strategic for the city, I'll say.
Mhm.
That I feel like both of those locations are such big connecting points for St. Louis neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the goal. That's what St. Louis needs is those connections to make St. Louis a more walkable city, just
Livable.
a more
Yeah.
livable city and a better city to visit and explore. And so when we heard about the City Foundry, we're kind of watching it for a while, and they had their ups and downs getting that open. And when I met Steve Smith for the first time, we started talking about it. I was just like, I have a lot of ideas for this place. So they needed a hand, and we were happy to be involved in it.
Yeah.
And, feel like we've developed such a great group of people down there. Some
great.
of my favorite restaurants,
Mhm.
like just down there. There's so much good food to
Mhm.
to.
It's the best
go
spot in
eat.
St. Louis to meet with a group of people or
Yeah.
people that are picky or kids because you can go to all these different spots and everybody can sit at the same place,
Yeah, and I think we did a good job of kind of spreading out the cuisines
Yeah.
and making sure there was kind of a little bit of something for everybody
Everyone.
down there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they have done such a great job with surrounding with some cool retail,
Yeah.
which I think is really hard these days. There isn't much retail, and so having places like May's Place down there,
Yeah.
I think is just awesome.
And
Or
then
when they do the
anchoring it.
markets down there, even.
Oh
it's
yeah, the
nice.
night markets
Yeah,
and
it's
the farmers
cool.
market. I think they've been doing some farmers markets
Yeah.
down there.
And then
Trying to get
anchoring
people
it
in, it's
with a
good.
big movie theater, a unique movie theater, a
Yeah.
unique putt
Putt
place,
shack.
That's
virtual
all fun.
reality, museum of
Super
illusion.
cool.
The fact that and now they're building the apartment building that will really
Yeah.
help you guys with just at least having people
Totally.
that live there as well. But yeah, that was a really inspiring project. It reminds me of when the Chelsea in a different way, like the Chelsea market in New
Chelsea
York,
market in New
or
York.
Just having
French Quarter Market, even like just a space to.
and all those people, some of those chefs are, have other concepts, but a lot of people can start there now.
Yeah.
Let me start here. Like my friends at Berry Box, they started there, or they signed the lease there first, and then they ended up getting another spot inside of a gym. So it's like, it allows you, the way you guys set it up there, it allows them to get started a little bit easier.
Well, I think the problem was, so Steve Smith's real vision for that place was for it to be more of an incubator for up and coming talent. The problem was that the real estate companies that were coming in and trying to create these deals and stuff really were just trying to create deals that would only get some large corporate chain. That's the only person who would have been able to kind of sign on to that. And so I really took those words that he wanted it to be an incubator, and we really worked to try to create deals that allowed people to come in with not a ton of fear, that they're going to go bankrupt or something if it doesn't work out. And, an easy way to get in, try out a new concept,
Get some exposure,
and do that. Yeah. And then at the stadium, it was a very similar concept, except that we really wanted to kind of explore St. Louis a little more, right? And all the different cultures of St. Louis and the different neighborhoods of St. Louis. So we started kind of, looking at a map of St. Louis and, Illinois adjacent stuff where we got Beast.
Oh, yeah.
But, and just trying to say we want the stadium to be a spot where if somebody comes to a game from Chesterfield, or even if somebody comes from Chicago to come to a game, like you can go through that stadium, explore all these places, and it's kind of like a launching pad for exploring our city, right? If you're like, oh, I really love this place, I really love this place, where's that located? If you really like take a look at where they're all located, they're really all pretty spread out through the city. And so our hope is that people will go to the game and then they will leave and explore a totally new neighborhood that they wouldn't have gone to before. So
yeah, I
and
remember
drive them out there on their own, potentially.
I even got some people out by my way. We have Malinche, which is one of my favorite restaurants out in my hood. And
Alex from Joya's told me that was one of his favorite spots. And he's a South City guy. He'll drive out there.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
so good.
I haven't been there. Yeah.
It's in their cocktails.
Really?
Are amazing.
Malinche. Yeah, I remember them because I remember coming to the opening when you guys had the media day, and it was like Balkan, Steve's, and Beast. Those were like, because they got voted. It was like a people vote, and then they were the first to announce and stuff like that. And those have jump-started a lot of their brands in business. I mean, they were already doing great, but like that elevates your brand when you're a part of something that special, especially where Balkan is. I mean, Balkan and Steve's right there, that prime location of both, and Balkan, I mean, it's so good.
You could have put Balkan anywhere.
They'll be fine. Yeah, you could have put them, you could put them underground in Noda, and people would find a way to crawl down there and get it.
So good. I mean, everything that Lauren touches is exceptional.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Yeah, they do a good job.
As we're talking about favorites and food and whatnot, and this is the STL bucket list show, go ahead and hit us.
I think I've already said my bucket list.
You probably did. I mean, well, that's the thing. Like, it's authentic, and you just
and this could be for different vibes too. Like, hey, on these days, or with my kids, I like to go here, and different things like that.
So what you got?
So one place, which is right down the street from Malinche, so forcing everybody to go out to
west,
Ellisville, and you have La Tiendita, and it's kind of the opposite of Malinche, whereas Malinche is like kind of upscale, beautifully plated food, incredibly thoughtful cocktails. You go a block east, and you have La Tiendita that makes the best corn tortillas. Definitely the best in the city.
Okay.
Yeah, but beyond that, like I bring people in from Northern and Southern California, and they're always just like, I'm like, no, you don't understand. It's gonna be amazing. They're like, okay.
They're driving through like the suburbs.
They're like,
bro,
whatever, and then they eat it, and they're like, oh my god,
it slaps.
Yeah. So and it's very simple, but everything on their menu is incredible. And now they have a little bar they expanded, which is why they're not in the stadium this year.
Yeah.
but they opened a little bar next door, so now you can get like cocktails and
You've been
you
trying
can
to
get
into the
yourself a
stadium.
margarita.
Yeah.
They were in the stadium the year before.
Yeah, you're a
serving
regular now, and
tacos.
you're like,
Yeah.
man,
That's
come on.
cool.
Now. Yeah.
But so Little Fox,
Mhm.
we talked about. I mean, like,
Mhm.
you could call it a date night spot, but like for me, like it's just like anytime I have a night off type of spot.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
We've only had breakfast there, but
I told him. Yeah, he's like, "Are you kidding?" He's like,
and I was like, what?
Yeah, he's like,
only
"What?" I'm like, "We've only had
breakfast.
brunch." I don't know why.
I mean, their
We
brunch is
tried,
dope.
Their brunch is
like-
yeah, their brunch is fire.
I don't know. We try and do. It was right before we had Me Live. We do like
We haven't
these,
done a lot of
like,
date nights
We try
since
and
we
do
had a
like
baby.
date nights. Well, we used to. We used to be like 2 a month. Like you plan one, I plan one, and
Yeah.
I booked it for brunch. So
Yeah.
we'll go back to
Yeah,
for
we'll go
dinner.
there.
Yeah, no, dinner is where it's at.
Okay.
And their martini is exceptional.
Okay.
Big
So
martini
the-
guy over here.
yeah.
Okay.
Peacemaker
Mhm.
for multiple
Obvious
reasons.
Yeah.
Quick food, Soul Taco.
Yep.
I was just eating their food in Chicago.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
yesterday.
Yeah.
So
We
David's
get that
awesome.
a lot at work because there's one right around the corner, and like
Yeah.
anytime we can go get lunch, we're like Soul Taco.
it's so delicious.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's so good. Miley,
Mm.
I mean,
Oh.
just a classic.
Yeah.
And the chicken pho,
Yeah.
the pho guy is like
Mhm.
every single time just
Yeah.
hits the spot. And a lot of times I'll just get broth, like if I'm sick or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
I like
Yeah.
need it.
Yeah.
Like I'll keep a bunch in my freezer sometime.
Smart.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah,
Yeah,
their beef-
Miley
I
is
get the
my
beef
spot.
from
We
there.
used to get it every podcast, after every podcast. That's
Yeah.
bizarre
Yeah.
pickup spot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mm.
And they're so quick, and it's just always perfect.
I
It's
know.
always on
Always
point.
Always on point.
perfect.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
it's so good.
Pizza de Gloria.
Yeah.
That place is
Such a cute spot.
legit.
Great.
Yeah. I love the patio.
Yeah, it's
Like,
beautiful.
that's the spot.
The
It
string
is.
lights up there.
Yeah.
And like just the different style pizzas that they'll do, like here and there. Like this is our special this week or this month. Like it's always so bizarre and crazy and so good.
He's got this like crispy mortadella skewer now, and it's amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
it's
do a
like
great
sweet
job.
and sour kind of deal.
Sounds good.
The Vandy. Have you been to the Vandy for drinks?
But that's the barkeep team.
Yeah.
Yep.
The
yep.
Vandy is awesome.
Yeah, I've been hearing
Like
about
that's a hidden gem.
It's like in the Grove, but behind the Grove a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, I passed it like 5 million times. Like, oh, I should check it out. I should check it out. And when I did, I was like a total regular
Yeah.
there. And Alex Shingle does the food there, and it's super simple,
Yeah.
like pickles and stuff. Like I think they just call it jardinera, but it's just like these like beautifully pickled vegetables. That's just like the perfect snack.
Love that.
And then they do a shrimp cocktail, which I feel
Wow.
like totally hits the spot.
Yeah, good.
Love a shrimp cocktail.
What else? I've mentioned all these places in the Foundry, like Chez Ali, Sureste, and Buenos Aires Cafe.
Yeah.
They have these empanadas. Like that's the best on-the-go food
Okay.
out there. Those
Little
empanadas are
empanada.
so
And like
solid.
morning, like they're open pretty early or no? Are they open lunch? Yeah.
Yeah, they're open
Yeah.
at lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so
Cool.
many good spots. I mean, it's like it's hard because when we ask people, that's why I try to send it to you guys before because then
So hard to
when you're
choose.
put on the spot, you're like, okay, hold on, I like all these places. How can
Yeah.
I sub it down there? But like those are spots that like people say like bucket list, date night spots, any spots that your kids love when they're with you that you guys have to go to.
Oh, Peacemaker.
Yeah.
Definitely a crowd favorite. They love Dewey's.
Yep. Dewey's Pizza.
Yeah, Dewey's Pizza is
Mhm.
always solid. I guess not technically local,
Yeah,
but they're
it's-
local
they
enough.
like it.
Yeah, they got local.
Chicken scratch.
Oh, so
Uh,
good.
Yeah, so I'll just buy a rotisserie chicken
Yes.
from them and then kind of eat that all week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
solid.
I just had a chicken salad sandwich from there. It was crazy. It's so good. Well, Gerard, I mean, I appreciate
Good
you guys for
spots.
coming on, man. I mean,
Yeah,
I
thanks
think
for having
that
me.
what you're building is inspiring, and I think that there's this quote I always talk about. I don't think I talked about it now, but it's like, if not us, then who? If not now, then when? And you don't have to do all these things. You probably don't have to keep building, but you have that mindset of now you have this team and you have all these people you have to keep building. So it's super inspiring in what you're doing and taking risks. And building these spaces that people that hopefully that are listening might not even know that you've been. It's hard to keep up sometimes.
Look them up. Look them up.
You couldn't even
guys,
count that
and
high. No, I'm just kidding. But it is like I think the most inspiring part is the 400 people that work for you. All the awards are great. All the things is the 400 people that have been able to build careers. But then also, what about all those people that went off after that and made their own restaurants? And there's probably a handful of people too. That
the family tree is huge. But you know, to your point, you know, the people, the things when you say, you know, they may not know that you're involved. A long time ago, we were called Craft Restaurants Limited, and I purposefully changed that to Niche Food Group because I really didn't want it to be about me because it's not.
Yeah.
You know, this has always been you know, based on all of the talented people, you know, past and present, that come through Niche Food Group, and we've been so lucky. I mean, if you look at our upper management team, it's like pretty ridiculous just how talented everybody is. So
you need that,
and just what good people everybody in our group is. You know, I mean, they're just so many awesome human beings that I love working with, and I think that's the thing I'm most proud of is getting to work with that group of people that you actually
enjoy.
I mean, we all you know we all work at places, and you know, we've worked at places where we hate everybody, and you know,
it's just not funny.
This is a place where, you know, like, it just is so much more good than bad.
Well, you spend
that's what you
a
want.
third of your life at work, or 66% of your life at work.
Yeah.
So it's
At
like
least.
at least 66%
At
of
least
your
you're
life.
like,
So it's
oh,
like
more for me.
and that's
but-
what I think is like so great about business is you can build, but then these people can build, and now you're seeing them get married and have their own kids, and you knew them when they were 16 or 18 or 20, and I think identifying talent and pouring into talent is the difference between, you know, it's the difference in everything. It's like, how can it, because you can only do so much. And like you said, you shifted your mindset from craft to niche because it was a team. That was the only way that you guys can get to where you're at. But yeah, identifying talent and retaining talent, obviously, you know how that goes better than anybody. I mean, it's tough. You know?
Although our biggest thing, our biggest compliment is always when old employees come back again. And I feel like that happens so much at our company.
Grass isn't always greener.
Well, it's just like,
like
you
home.
like, you know, you left and you know, appreciated what was going on there.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, sometimes that is a good compliment. Well, cool.
You're doing great things.
Thank you.
And we wish you so much success on all the other things you're going to have coming up and what you're doing now. And
Let's knock on a lot of wood.
you're killing it. So thank
see you
you
guys
for
next
just
week.
taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, see you guys next week.
Today they rep St. Louis, yeah. They rep St. Louis. They rep St. Louis.